let's go ahead and mute you. Let's mute you. Let me send out a tweet real quick. We'll give everyone a couple minutes to get in here. Can you guys hear me? Is my volume up? Hello? 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 Got some people coming in. We'll get started, since it was impromptu. We'll get started in like 5 minutes, so everyone just hang tight, check out my screens. So get this thing fitted too. Let's go from here. Here we go. Hey guys. Well, we're starting to see a little bit of pullback here on Bitcoin. How's TradingView going? TradingView's going great, actually. I'll be the first to admit I misjudged TradingView. I liked the simplicity of CryptoWatch, but once you get the hang of like the feel and function of TradingView, it's honestly amazing. And I like that you can like save the profiles and stuff, and also have these multi-view charts. I'm sorry, multi-view windows. And yeah, I really like TradingView. I totally misjudged it. I was wrong. I apologize to the TradingView gods, to the crypto gods. I was wrong. Hashtag Wyckoff. Yeah. I think I'm just gonna stop calling it Wyckoff distribution and just start calling it Schmidt coin distributions, but label it exactly how I want to label it. I don't know. Let's start on the 1 day here with this discussion, then we'll get into it. Okay, so for those of you who saw my tweet earlier today, I've been messing around with new Bollinger Band settings, which is actually really nice. And so before I get into the market activity, I'm going to go in a little bit of detail just on the way I use this indicator, and then we'll actually go to what's coming up, because changing this Bollinger Band setting is going to make things look a lot cleaner, and it'll help represent the market better. So the settings that I'm using is going to be 20, close, 2.4, and then 0 offset. So the way Bollinger Bands work is that the whole trend is kind of centered around this center line here, and then the bands themselves are standard deviations from that band, or from the middle line. So you can see here, like if we go to like 1, for example, like the bands get really narrow, and if we go to and if we go to 2, which is the default settings, you know, they're nice, but they don't encompass all of the candles. And so what you want when you're using the Bollinger Bands is you want to encompass as much information as possible while showing strong moves puncturing the bands. So if you look here, like, yes, this was a strong move, but if you were following Bollinger Band settings with the if you're following the Bollinger Band trend with the default settings, you would have been getting a lot of false signals in here. And that happened to me on the last run. Was I was using the default settings, and I kept thinking it was going to pull back and it was going to pull back, but it didn't quite do it. My settings weren't quite tuned. But what I found is, so watch this channel right here, or watch this trend right here. So as I change this to 2.4, watch how these candles get put right back in there. Boom, and they fall really nicely in there. And so what you see here is that these lows here and the highs, the absolute highs, are puncturing the bands, but the actual trend is chilling right inside the band, and that's what we want. So once again, if you like to use the Bollinger Bands, that's going to be the length is 20 and the standard deviation is 2.4. And I found that I've been back testing it on different time scales, and it works really nicely. It even works up to the 60-minute. 60 is kind of pushing it, but the 120 looks really nice. You can see here that the majority of the information is contained. It's kind of hanging back and forth, and we're getting a nice squeeze here on the 120. So 60 is kind of pushing it, but the 120 to the 1 day is really fucking nice with the 2.4 standard deviations. So what else do I want to talk about with that? So if we look at let's start macro and then zoom inward. Okay. Let's go to Coinbase so I don't have to delete all this shit. Oh, sorry, this is actually like leftovers. I don't know if you guys have been following my posts on Twitter, but I've been going back and forth with your boy John Bollinger a little bit today, so I was giving him a chart. So we can see here that the bull market has been I'm just kind of rehashing some stuff, so if you've already heard me say this, just hang out. So we see here that the bull market's been really nicely confined within this ascending channel here, and this is log scale, so keep that in mind. And we see it's pinged at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times on the top, and we see it. Let me pull out my pen here. And we see it. One. Let's do a half circle there. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 times on the bottom, and several times on top. What did we say? 5 times on top. So it's been well defined inside this this channel here. And one thing that we note from the Bollinger Bands, let me pull this back out so you can see it again. The way the Bollinger Bands have been reacting inside this ascending channel is you see that, so let me just go ahead and touch on some of the anatomy of the Bollinger Bands and some of the trends so you can understand what I'm about to say. So the Bollinger Bands are very useful for knowing when the market is overbought, oversold. They're better at showing support and resistance levels than just your standard horizontal support and resistance levels, because the market moves, and so the Bollinger Bands tend to show you, like as it approaches this outer band, this upper band, it becomes more toward the bought, and vice versa. As it goes toward the lower band, it tends to be considered to be more oversold. And so a puncturing of the band would indicate, like a sort of spring that's going to go upward, and then a puncturing of the band at the top would indicate like an up thrust that's going to reverse it downward. So one thing that we notice from this whole trend, though, is that every time we've had these corrections, it goes back down to here, goes down to here, goes down to here, goes down to here. We see that the 1-day Bollinger Bands have been making, this is called the bulge right here. So this part of the Bollinger Band is called the bulge. So this right here is called the squeeze. So we see how the bands are narrowing. Oops. So the bands are narrowing right here. This is called the squeeze. And this is called the bulge. So squeeze into the bulge, right? And so we can think of the squeeze as market consolidation, and it kind of tells us that a new trend is about to develop and a big move's likely to take place in the market. And so what we see, a very common trend within this 1-day period, so these are 1-day candles, is that every time, let me get a better color. No, orange. Yeah, that looks good. So we see. Let's go back to orange. So we see every time. There we go. Every time we come up pre-correction, every time the market's about to correct, we see that the 1-day Bollinger Bands begin to bulge. We see this bulge here. We see it here. We see it here. here, and now we're seeing it here. And so typically what happens is so this is the way the Bollinger Bands like to go. So they do a squeeze, they go into a bulge, you know, something like this, and then they squeeze again, and then they move, right? Because the squeeze represents market consolidation, and the bulge represents the market movement, which ultimately ends up, you know, leading into the consolidation phase. So right here we see the bulge, we see the bulge, we see the bulge, we see the bulge, and what you see every time is post bulge we see the squeeze, and then the market corrects. We see the squeeze, we see the squeeze, and the market corrects. See the squeeze, and the market corrects. Well, here we're doing it one more time. We see the squeeze, it's a very nice squeeze this time, and we don't see a correction yet, but the price keeps pushing upward. Okay, so what does this mean? Not a whole lot right now, but what it does mean is that the tighter these bands get within the squeeze, the more likely a longer sustained move is to take place in the market. So you can see here, like, this was a nice squeeze that took place, and this was like a multi-month run, you know, a nice squeeze here, a month and a half long run, and this one didn't really pull back much, and I think that's why it's struggling to make, I think it's why it's struggling, the price is struggling to make this upper trend line, is because this didn't really pull back very hard. You can see it in the Bollinger Bands, right? Like, you don't see this nice squeeze that you do here, you know, you see the nice squeeze here, but you don't really see it here. Like, it never really got a chance to pull back and then launch. And so I think that's why it's kind of like putzing along right now. Like, it's making new all-time highs, but are they sustainable? I don't know. You know, it's very possible that we could see a test of this upper trend line. That's what it's done historically. But when we look at our momentum indicators, like our RSI and our MACD and our volume, you know, every time that we've had a correction, we've seen the one-day diverge within the overbought region of the RSI. So we see it here, we see it here, we see it here, here, and now finally we're seeing it here, right? And likewise, if you're looking at the total volume, it's actually been going down since the beginning of you know, this run from 3,000. So there's a lot of things to take into consideration here with the way the market's about to move. And this isn't even talking about the the Bitcoin Schmitcoin distribution phases. That's not even taking into account that stuff. And it's not even taking into account the news that came out today. The news that was, let me get this straight so I don't misread it. So, so actually a couple of things came out today. One was, I'm looking at my my news thread on my Discord here. So apparently there were some statements that were released by the SEC that implies that the ICOs are here to stay if they abide by proper regulation. So that's bullish for Ether. And now Bloomberg released an article, or a tweet rather, that was talking about, I'm going to read this tweet to you guys. Bitcoin surges above $6,400 as the world's biggest exchange announces plans for futures. So this is crazy, right? CME is they announced plans to host futures and potentially options, which, what does that mean for the layman? It means now the layman's going to have more confidence in buying via these exchanges. Whether or not these coins actually change hands remains to be seen, because it could be done via contracts or something like that. But what it does is it creates an opportunity for it to be more accessible to the layman, right? A lot of people are sketched out at buying Ether, or you're buying crypto in general, from these sketchy exchanges, and rightfully so, considering all the bad press they've gotten over the years. And so this improves market confidence in Bitcoin. So I think long term, this is very bullish. This is like the beginning of a very massive takeoff. Short term, I don't know what that means. I think that the market is highly overbought right now. I just presented a long list of reasons as to why I feel that way. and maybe we can have a group discussion about it, and we'll have some back and forth. So let's go to some questions here on YouTube. Okay, so someone asked about the Bollinger Bands. Do we ignore the wicks for the Bollinger Band fit? Only the bodies matter? So typically you want to look at like at price closes, because that's going to tell you where market consensus was at the close of the day. So you can have crazy outliers like this, but really what you want to see is the bodies and then the wicks sticking out for the big moves. The bigger the squeeze, the bigger the next trend change. Yeah, so so the question is about the Bollinger Bands here. If we get a bigger squeeze, typically we get a bigger move, because that means that the bands, the tighter the bands consolidate, typically the larger the move, because it just represents market price consolidation. CME to offer. Oh, the question is CME offering this for Ether? I'm not gonna know. I think it's just Bitcoin at the moment. Does Bollinger work on small timelines like 1 month or 1 week? So wait. So, okay. So if I'm understanding your question correctly, one of the most common mistakes that I see people using when they're trading is they don't look at candle size, and they're more concerned with time frame. Don't look at time frame like from here to here, like June to August. Don't look at it like 1, 2, 3 month time periods. This isn't as useful as looking at it in terms of candle size and the trend with the candle size. That's this isn't entirely useful. The most useful for crypto is going to be looking at your candle size and judging it that way. All right, another question from Twitch. Is it possible to say that technical analysis is not as big as a factor as the fundamental analysis that is moving the market? I mean, it is possible to say that, but okay. So my personal take on the way fundamentals, affect the market is that they work in unison with technical analysis, right? So like technical analysis is going to tell us. Technical analysis is going to tell us like where the upper limits of the market is, and for example, right? Say we got some crazy bullish news like China adopts Bitcoin as their national currency, right? Like that would be crazy. People would just be buying, and the market would go crazy. But you'd still want to look to your technicals to tell you where a good where a good entry point would be, where the market exhaustion is going to be from a trading standpoint. And not only that, but like say for example the market moves up and it's having trouble breaking this ascending trend line, right? If it's having visible trouble breaking this ascending trend line, this might not be the best time to go long. But if you're just looking at fundamentals, that might not be obvious to you. And similarly, if we break this, right? If we break this trend line, this is incredibly bullish because it is likely to have a bullish continuation at a rapid growth rate. So I don't think you should exclude technical analysis, but and likewise, I don't think you should exclude fundamental analysis. I think they should be used in unison. Is the upper trend line different on a log chart? Is the upper trend line? Oh, okay. So this is, yeah, it is different. So this is, so TradingView does something weird, but I'll sketch this out for you. So if you're using a linear chart, right, this trend line would look something like this. It's a parabolic growth on a linear chart. Let me see if I can draw that better for you guys. So if we're looking at this on our linear scale, you see parabolic growth within this like parabolic little envelope here, right? But if we put this on log, it just looks like straight lines, and it's cleaner. On larger timescales, you should really use log. I don't really know why you'd ever want to use linear. Linear is kind of deceiving in terms of what price growth actually represents. All right, you guys have any more questions about what I just said so far? All right, another question from Discord. I just bought another $100 worth of Bitcoin after telling myself I would for a few years. All this analysis is interesting. Would going through resources like baby pips make me understand half of what you were saying here? Oh yeah, absolutely. And feel free to ask questions in the stream, because I tend to talk. I tend to speak about the market with an assumption of a base level of knowledge. Not that not having a base level of knowledge is bad. Everyone starts somewhere, but I highly recommend for these streams and understanding investment technicals in general. I highly recommend going through things like baby pips. I put out I'm starting to put out a video series where I'm going through different technical indicators one at a time. And yeah, like even if you're just being a casual investor, I highly recommend knowing what you're looking at, because you could be buying into an overbought market and not know that you're setting yourself up into a trap. Question from Twitch: what are your thoughts on how we have not touched the upper resistance line recently? I'm assuming you're speaking about the upper trend line here. Is that what you're referring to, Jack? I think there's a delay, so I gotta wait a second for him to respond. Yeah, okay, the macro channel. Better just to calculate solid entry points and get a big chunk. Okay, so the question is, what is my take on the fact that we haven't touched this upper trend line? So, my take is, I have a couple takes on it. If you look at, okay, so there are clear signs of market exhaustion right now, bullish exhaustion specifically. I mean, obviously, right, we're in a bull market. And I think it's represented on a couple fronts. So if we look at, the basic momentum indicators, right, we see divergence here. Where is it? So we see divergence on the RSI. This is the one-day candles, right? See divergence on the RSI. Price is continuing to make new highs, right? Volume's okay, nothing spectacular. It's kind of just staying relatively flat. But what we do see is that on these tests, I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer. But as we look at these tests right here, the volume's actually going down. Total volume's going down here, these last few daily candles. Which can say a number of things. It can say that there's not much confidence in these price levels. It can say that supply is starting to dominate the market as demand is dying down. And oops, sorry guys. And what's very telling to me specifically is the fact that if you look at these previous reversals, this one excluded because he was so aggressive, these previous macro reversals we've had, the Bollinger Bands, before they start to bulge, they actually peak outside the trend line, right? And then when the Bollinger Band doesn't peak outside of it, the price does. Right now, the Bollinger Band is finding pretty solid resistance here at the top of the trend line, and this is showing, like, this doesn't seem very bullish to me. I see a lot of people making bullish predictions, but I don't think a lot of them are looking at, like, I think a lot of them are just using fib extensions, which are great. Don't get me wrong. I love fib extensions. They're very powerful tools. But in terms of gaining insight into the trend and the momentum of the trend, this just seems like it's just puttering along. Like it's making like feeble rally after feeble rally, and it's like, yes, it's making new all-time highs, but are these strong all-time highs? They don't look like it, in my opinion. Every time we've made a peak, we've diverged here on the RSI. The MACD has not made a new high. In fact, it's actually been going lower, right? And when we look on something like the 120-minute candles, oh shit, I forgot I had all this on here. When we look at something like the 120-minute candles, it becomes a little bit more apparent that we're starting to see divergence even on the smaller scale, right? Like, let's see. The only thing that's been propelling these prices upward are these. Can I make? The only thing that's been propelling these prices upward are these gigantic market buys here. It's not like market consensus is doing this. It's like a handful of people with a shitload of money are doing it to try to trap people into buying shorts or stopping them out. And you can see here that like we're starting to diverge here. Like we have divergence on the 2-hour, even though it's making new highs. Got divergence here as well. You know, like there are very clear signs. And not only that, but like if you look at like the peaks, every time we've pushed a new all-time, let me see if I can clean this off for you guys so you can see a little better. But every time we've pushed a new all-time high here, with respect to, you know, this current trend, every time we pushed a new all-time high, so here's one new all-time high, here's 2, and here's 3. The volume's been less and less every time, and this doesn't show strong market demand. This shows, you know, something else. It doesn't show very strong demand for the asset. It doesn't seem bullish to me. Like the price can continue to increase without being bullish. And I think a lot of people aren't taking that into consideration, that like these rallies are becoming weaker and weaker every time. You know, I mean, it's pretty obvious. So Jack said the 1-day MACD seems to be flipping bullish. 1-day MACD. Yeah, it does seem to be flipping bullish, but if you look here, so if you look here, the last time we had a correction, it also did that. So like, if we go on, so follow this line here. So it flipped bullish for like a day, and then it reversed. And really, what we should be looking at here, since we're looking at such a long trend, we should be looking at the signal line and moving average here. And we see here that it's in order for this to make a new high, it's gonna have to make some crazy moves to make a new high on the moving average and signal line here. And not only that, but like we're seeing divergence here. So this is the 1-day. Like you could argue that this is divergence here. Like the signal line across the 1-day trend is diverging, and I don't know. It just looks weak. It looks very weak to me. All right, let's go back to YouTube. Let's see. Oh, sorry guys. I went on a rant and I was looking at Twitch. Let me go back and see this. Would money flow into alts, Ether, Litecoin, etc. on this pullback that we expect? So I'm kind of torn right now. I think a very select few, a very select number of alts will actually benefit from this rally, but I think a correction like what I'm thinking is going to happen, I think that would actually would actually end a lot of the alts. Like that would just clean them out. It would burn the brush in a forest fire. It would just clean them all out, right? Good stream, Bitcoin Schmitcoin. I'm glad you stood up to the other channel. I'm now a subscriber of yours. Keep up your good work. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Oh, sorry, I've been like slouching in my chair. So progressively as I stream, I just slowly like settle into my chair, and I forget that my mouth isn't near the microphone. Is the volume better now? Okay, so is it possible that this new money coming in, mostly institutional investors, since we have all-time highs in crypto world cap? No, I don't think investors are stepping in now. I think the price is too high. I think on the next correction we would see a lot of institutional investors stepping in. But on this one, no. I don't think so. And that's just because of the way that I feel that the Wyckoff distribution is going. And if you're interested on my opinions on that, I've been pretty open about how I feel that we're going through a distribution phase. So I think that this distribution phase is going to shake out a lot of people, and then on the next accumulation phase, we're going to see, we're going to see the next influx of institutional investors enter the market. Okay, another question from Discord. If that's the case, we may see more all-time highs. Do institutional investors buy the top? No, man. Institutional investors make the top. They don't buy the top. They make the top so that you buy it while they sell. Okay, so also, guys, here's a fun fact. A lot of people don't understand how the way the market cap works. So market cap doesn't tell you anything about new money entering the market. That's actually a misconception. All market cap is you take, the price of Bitcoin, which is 63.31, and you multiply it by the number of Bitcoin in circulation. Number of Bitcoin in circulation. This does not tell you anything about new money entering the market. All this does is just spit out a value that if you were to liquidate every coin at this price, this is what you would get. That's all that tells you. It doesn't tell you anything about new money entering the market. I think a lot of people assume that's what it tells you, but that's not what it tells you. When people sell Bitcoin, where does it go? To fiat, if not alts? Are you worried about Tether being insolvent and a false crutch? So I'm slightly worried about the whole Tether thing, but not enough for me to not trade with it. And the question about where does it go? It either goes to fiat or it goes into another coin. Those are your only two options here. There was another question in here that I meant to address. Bitcoin Schmitcoin, what's your B2X strategy? Split and dump before the fork, hold through. I actually haven't decided what I'm going to do yet. Just play it day by day. I'm not sure what's going to come about for my strategy. Bots can just trade into themselves and raise up caps are very artificially. Yeah. So that's a great point. And that's why market cap isn't really a totally trustworthy. It's great to look at. It tells you the overall trend of the market. But in terms of like when people say we made a new all-time high in market cap, well, that doesn't really mean anything. Every time you make an all-time high in price, Bitcoin makes an all-time high in market cap. That's just how the math works out. Okay, let's look at another question here. Okay, so here's another thing that I wanted to point out to you guys. So I can talk about my take on this whole Wyckoff distribution stuff. Not the controversy that I've been going through on Twitter and all that stupid shit, but like the actual distribution that I've been following. I can talk about that right now and how it's going to play out if you guys are interested. If not, I won't waste your time. Okay, so the question is, so if Bitcoin corrects significantly, you expect people to cash out to fiat or Tether, but not alts. Curious why not alts? Because I think that alts are going through a distribution phase all on their own. And I'll walk you through that real quick. So, what is it? Crypto market cap. I'm gonna pull this up for you guys. So if we go on this, we go on this website here. Oops. Oh shit, I thought I closed the stream. So if we go on crypto market cap, there's a nice little chart here. And we can look at Bitcoin dominance. And we can actually pull up a chart of market cap excluding Bitcoin. So what does that mean? That means literally every other altcoin, right? Every coin other than Bitcoin. So let's go ahead and let's just look at recent history here. So if we look at this chart right here, let's do it like right here. And this is, again, this is total market cap excluding Bitcoin. So it's this is just altcoins. This does not include it does not include Bitcoin. And then let me pull up this chart right here, and we're gonna look at something interesting that I've been tracking. What the fuck is this? Okay, and let's look at. I'm gonna do something real cute. You guys ready for this? So I'm gonna do this. Okay, so can you guys see that? Let me see. Yeah, okay. Oh, shit. So this looks very similar to this, right? And, if I shrink this to scale, it'll actually look even more like it. So if I go like from here to here. Oh, wait, if I go actually zoom out. Okay, let's go here to here. So if we look at the market cap, so this is just altcoins, right? So no Bitcoin. This is just the market cap for altcoins, and we notice it looks very similar to the Wyckoff events and phases, right? So this would be our PSY. This would be our buying climax. This would be our second test. This would be our sign of weakness. Unless you're talking to the Wyckoff Institute, then they don't call it that. But since this is a Schmidt distribution, this is a Wyckoff-Schmidt distribution. I'm going to call it a sign of weakness. And then we see the up thrust. And it follows this pattern like very, very, very closely, which puts the altcoins in last point of supply. Which, if you're an altcoin investor, isn't the best position to be in. So what does this mean? So what does this mean? This means that a lot of the money from altcoins is actually flowing into Bitcoin, which is why every time you see the Bitcoin price move, the altcoins tend to go in reverse. And it's a lot of money just sloshing around. And that's why I say don't trust the market cap for Bitcoin or the crypto space in general, because it's kind of misleading, right? Like Bitcoin's being propped up by altcoin prices or altcoin capital, and it's kind of sloshing around. So whether or not the altcoins actually just like tank to all shit remains to be seen, but it does match this distribution pattern very clearly, and it makes sense on a macro scale why Bitcoin's behaving in a distribution fashion. Like it all ties together very nicely. And it could be just a huge coincidence, but it's something to keep an eye on. Let's see. Talk about the Schmidt distribution. Okay, I mentioned. Okay, so with the break off, are we back in phase A of Wyckoff? No. Oh, you mean okay? So I'm gonna talk about the current distribution phase for Bitcoin, or the potential current distribution phase for Bitcoin. I'll talk about that in a second, because there are actually two going on right now with Bitcoin. There's this macro one, which is on the 1-day candles, and then within it, within this distribution phase, you know, right here, within this up thrust is a smaller distribution phase. So I'm going to talk about that in a second. Let me address these questions. Yeah, he has good content, not just fluff entertainment. Oh, thanks, man. I'm assuming you're talking about me. I've been reading him since his heavy Reddit commenting days. Oh, I'm one of the OGs. Let's see. You think the future is dark? No, I don't think the future is dark. I think that undoubtedly that Bitcoin will rise to new all-time highs. But with any market, like there's always a corrective. So there's always a distribution phase and there's always an accumulation phase, right? Bitcoin had an accumulation phase about 1.5 years ago. And now it's climbing up and it's going through what I believe to be a distribution phase. So, you know, this is just part of market cycles, right? Like this doesn't mean that like crypto's dead. It doesn't mean Bitcoin's dead. It doesn't mean that like altcoins are dead. It just means that like there's an ebb and flow to the market cycle, and you know, like it accumulates and it sloshes up. And right now we're somewhere up here. That's all that means, is that it's going to correct and then it's going to come up even higher. There's no doubt in my mind that like if there's a macro correction, even if there's like a 1.5 year long bear market or something crazy like that, like the market will rally to all-time highs. There's no doubt in my mind that will happen. No question. You know, I just think that at the current state, it's just overbought and it needs to pull back. That's all I think. A lot of people like to peg me with like this like apocalyptic sort of point of view, and if that's what you've gotten from me, that's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is that the current market and the current state is overbought, and it just needs to pull back and correct so that it can regain some steam and maybe do a reaccumulation phase. That's all I'm saying. Okay, so let's actually talk about the current distribution phase that I've been talking about, the Schmidt distribution phase. So let's go to the 120-minute candles. Let's actually get rid of you, and let's put you down here. All right. So the question is, are we still doing this? Is this what we're doing? You know, what's going on here? Are we gonna eat shit? So I'm of the opinion that this is still valid. I don't know about any of you guys, but I'm of the opinion that this distribution phase is totally still valid. It fits too nicely. The only issue is that, like, you know, if you look at past models of Schmidt distribution, doesn't fit it perfectly. But then again, like most TA, most market analysis, standard market analysis, you know, there are slight tweaks you have to make for the crypto market because it's such a new market, and it's you know, relative to traditional markets, it's a low market cap. Like it's not, you know, it's not like there's not a whole lot of trading volume in terms of like when you compare it to the stock, you know, stock exchange or a forex market or something. You know, crypto's still new, so like we're gonna have to take some liberties with the way that we look at the market. And you know, I think that this little upthrust right here, you know, this is one of those things. You know, it's not going to match it perfectly, but nothing really matches it perfectly. You know, like you guys have seen it. You know, like if you look at any in-depth analysis on like how long bull pennants take to break out, or the time period for which a cup and handle will play out. You know, it's all different for crypto. You know, traditionally cup and handles take about 4 to 6 weeks to play out. In crypto, they can play out in a day. Everything's accelerated in crypto. Everything is exaggerated in crypto. And just like this distribution phase, I think it's also going to be exaggerated, right? Like it would be no surprise to me to see another all-time high by the end of the day. Would that sway me of my opinion that we're in a distribution phase? Absolutely not. You know, it's just like the signs are all there on a macro and micro scale that like this is what's happening. You know, it's just a matter of time, in my opinion. Let's see. If I wanted to buy the big dip, where do I put my buy-in? Oh, I don't know. Historically, Bitcoin is like to retrace 61%, right? So if we're talking like an actual pullback, it depends on what dip you're talking about. But if we're talking about, let's go to the 4-hour candles. So let's look at a brief history of Bitcoin real quick. So if we look at Bitcoin's pullbacks from its rallies, we see, you know, pretty consistent pattern here. So if we start the rally from here to here, you know, we see a pullback to fit between 50 and 61%. Okay. If we move this again up to here, so we look at this rally, we see 50 to 61% again. And now if we apply it to this rally here, I would expect there to be a pullback between 50 and 61%, which would have us, you know, in the mid 4,000s, right? So it would be testing this lower trend line, possibly breaking it, depending on the time frame. It would also have us testing very well-known support. Now, if we're looking at a macro, so this is for this rally. If we're looking at a macro level, this is when it starts to get really interesting. So, oops. So we're looking at a macro level, which would be here. So if we look, you know, this is where the market really started breaking out. So if we look at a macro level and we expect a 50% retracement on a macro level, we can expect to see 3,500s, which would not surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me one bit. It would have us testing. Something else to note is that on the 1 day, this is the 200 EMA here, 200 exponential moving average. The market loves to find support here. So we find support here. You know, it comes very close here, it comes very close here. And what we see here is that right at the 50 and 61% is a 200 EMA. So I wouldn't be surprised at all to see the market on a macro level pull back down to this price range. It would not at all surprise me. What has to happen so this is a question from Twitch. What has to happen for alts to go up again? The capital needs to be distributed. Right now, all the capital is focused in Bitcoin and it needs to be redistributed among the other coins. And the only thing that's going to allow that to happen is, you know, a macro distribution phase of Bitcoin, in my opinion. That's what's going to cause that to happen. If we continue this trend of Bitcoin is climbing and climbing and climbing without correction, the alts are just going to continue to bleed. With the exception of a couple, like Neo looks very good. OMG's kind of promising. You know, a couple of those. Okay, so this is a question from the Discord. The question is, so people are saying they can't hear me very well. I'm not really sure why. Let me do an audio test. Can you guys hear me now? How about now? Test, 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 test. Can you guys hear me? How's the audio now? How about now? A little louder. How about now? Is that better? Sorry, I didn't realize it was so. Oh, I'm an idiot. My microphone was like pointing at a bad angle. How's that? Is that better? The little windscreen was obscuring my view. All right, so all right, so let's look at the okay, sorry, I totally lost my train of thought there. I was like really caught up in trying to figure out why that was not very loud. Okay, so the question is from the Discord. One of the guys says there were no touches for 6 months between January and June. Okay, between January and June. So let's look at that period. So he's talking about this period right here. There were no touches from January to June. Okay. On the previous major corrections, price spent longer walking up the B bands before the crash. Also, the Bitcoin market cap circulation is further screwed by missing / lost Bitcoin. Does it matter that the volume for the buying climax is less than the upthrust? Oh, I think these are all different. I'm an idiot. These are all different questions. So he's talking about this time period. So, okay, so the reason why I don't really consider this period of time to be that big of a deal, you know, so it spent 6 months in between here, whereas here it was like a month and a half. And the reason why I don't really consider this is because this is the beginning of the bull trend and it's just getting going. So you see we made our first couple touches here, and from the time we actually made our first bottom here to actually get going in a parabolic fashion, you know, it wasn't 6 months. It was 2 months. It was 2 months in between here and here. So, you know, it falls right in line with the rest of them. So this is 2 months. This is 2 months. This is 2 months right there. So I don't think that really matters much. Yeah, sorry guys about the audio earlier. I think the reason why it was down is because I had it adjusted for my my technical tip Tuesdays and stuff, so I forgot to readjust my volume levels. Okay, so just to follow up with the guy from Discord. So the point he's making is that if the market can go this long without touching the upper band or the upper boundary, why can't it do it here? Well, I mean, it totally can, but the signs of The signs of an overbought market aren't prevalent in this market as they are in this market, right? So if we look here, from here to here, for example, right, we see healthy RSI, and then it starts to diverge before it pulls back, right? And if we look at the whole macro trend here, we see healthy RSI, and it makes a new high here. So it makes a new high, it starts to diverge, and then it comes back down, right? So this happens every time you see the RSI diverge like this on the 1 day. It has pulled back here. So let's go ahead and look at all of them. So let's leave it black, I guess. So let's look at, so here's one, diverge, check. Two, diverge, check. Three, it diverged for a long time, but ultimately, as it went back into the normal consolidated region, it pulled back. So 3, 4, and now we're in 5. Right, and you can see here on the MACD, it's not very overbought. You know, it's kind of just chilling, and now here it's just entering this way overbought region here, and yeah, I think comparing this market to this market is like comparing apples to oranges here. Like, this was an underbought market, not underbought, oversold market, bordering on oversold, right? It was on the lower end of the RSI, and it had room to climb. Here it's just been like just chilling right at the top for a while. I mean, I guess you could argue that we're seeing something like this, where the market's climbing up like that, and so we're just seeing something like that. But I'm talking about like on a macro level here, that we're seeing the peaks go up, but the RSI is going down throughout the entire length of the bull run, and this is just textbook bearish divergence there. What do you think about XLM? I don't think about XLM, really. Looks like the first open source chain to partner with a Western Fortune 100 company. Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about fundamentals with XLM, so I'm sorry. I wish I could be of more use to you. So do you guys have any more questions about this stuff? You know, right now, if we're looking at the current market, looking at the 15-minute candles, it's kind of just looking like choppy shit. You know, it's kind of consolidating. And here, you know, we're kind of seeing a bull flag. So, you know, we may see new all-time highs by the end of the day. You know, like I said earlier, I wouldn't be surprised to see them. You know, volume's consolidating. Price is consolidating. It's a little choppier than I would like to see for a consolidation pattern, but it's not bad, you know. And not only that, but like if we look at the 15-minute, oh shit. If you look at the 15-minute, or wait, if you look at the 100, where did it go? 60. So if you look at the 1 hour, it had a very nice squeeze. So this is going back to the Bollinger Band talk. The 1 hour had a very big bulge, a very nice squeeze, and it broke out, and now it's kind of trending inward, which is what the trend does when it enters into the bulge. As Bollinger says, the bulge is where the trend goes to die. So as the bulge starts to round out, this typically signals the end or the death of a trend, and then the squeeze will give birth. It's like a little birth canal, a little trend birth canal. It'll give birth to a new trend. And so right here, we're starting to see the Bollinger Band starting to round out a little bit. The price is going inward. So, you know, maybe we'll see something like this again, because this looked like just like a bull flag, and then it broke down and then it came back up. So, you know, maybe we'll see something like that again. But in terms of, like, a lot of people keep asking me what I'm doing. In terms of this market, I am not going long. I'm not going long until I see a correction. I just don't trust it. I don't trust it on a macro level. I don't trust it on a micro level. And the resemblance to a smistribution just sounds, or just resonates too strongly with me, especially with the way that it's sucking capital out of the altcoins. You know, it just doesn't seem like, it doesn't seem healthy, and it seems more like it's bait for the big players to suck people into going long so that they can sell their bags to you. That's what it really reeks of to me. What's my take on ETH? Let's look at it. Where is it? Is this it? Ether. Okay. So my take on ETH is not very good because it's just kind of been trending like shit. It doesn't really look very good, you know, like from an analysis standpoint. Like if you look at it on the 1 hour, for example, like it hasn't done shit. It's been very uneventful. And then they're having DevCon. Was it tomorrow? So there's a lot of conversation going on right now that maybe the reason why the price is even at this level in the first place is because of DevCon and people are anticipating crazy news. But if we look at this on a 1 day chart, for example, you know, we see that it's in this pattern here. You know, you can argue. So you can argue this is a symmetrical triangle or an ascending triangle. You know, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't look like it's going to break upward, in my opinion. Granted, the MACD is consolidated, so that's really nice. If there were ever going to be a spring upward, the MACD looks very good. The market, these are never mind. So volume consolidating. The one thing that has me really worried though, in terms of the health of Ether, is if we look at the, do I have it pulled up yet? Yeah, if we look at the ratio for Ether to Bitcoin, and we look at like the 120-minute candle, like even the 1 day, like this is bad. This is very bad. If we look here, this sort of price action where the 200 and the 50 EMA, they cross downward. This right here, this is called a death cross. Death cross. And vice versa, when they cross upward, this is called a golden cross, which typically signals the beginning of a bull run or bull market. This signals the beginning of a bear market. This little event right here. And the way that the candles have been trending, like this does not look good in terms of Ether's dominance in the market and in terms of its market capital share with Bitcoin. It's losing dominance in the market, and we haven't had to put things into perspective. Okay, let's look at the 3 day maybe. Oh, okay. I guess it doesn't even want to show me that, but. If we look at the 1 day, it's been in a bull market since the beginning of the year, basically, since March, with the 1 day cross. And it's been all gravy, but now it's trending very strongly below the 200 EMA. And until this crosses again, it's not going to really have a big market share. And that doesn't bode well considering Bitcoin looks like it's going to correct, which means what, right? If Bitcoin corrects, if Bitcoin corrects, then that means Ether is going to go uber down. So Ether doesn't, none of the alts, in my opinion, look like a very good buy, and I'm not looking to buy any of the alts until probably sometime next year, once the 1 day candles get sorted out and once Bitcoin's crazy trend gets sorted out. Because right now it's sucking up all the capital from all the other markets, and it's stealing the spotlight, and so a lot of people aren't looking to buy. You know, maybe I could get proven wrong, and Bitcoin or Ether just has this insane rally, but its technicals don't look very good right now, and I would not be inclined to buy it. I'm looking to short it. All that capital can easily flow back into altcoins. Not if Bitcoin crashes. If Bitcoin, I don't want to say crash, that's the wrong word. If Bitcoin pulls back, everything pulls back. So, OMG. Someone's asking about OMG here. Let's look at Bitfinex on. So, oh, damn it. Does Bittrex have a longer history? No, not enough to look at the 1 day. 12 hour? Damn it. Okay, so this is why it looks good. So although we... this is such a piece of shit. Okay. So although we had a death cross on the OMGUSD pair, we see that there's very strong support here. So if we look at this current price level, if we look at this price level right here, oop, that was a horrible line. Sorry, guys. This price level right here, that's pretty good. If you look at that price level right here, it's sitting right above support. So this is going to be a make or break point for OMG. You know, if it breaks below this, it doesn't have much support below it for a while. But this could be a very good buying point because of where it is positionally in the market. This could be a very good buy before a rally, just because it's sitting on very strong support. It's tested it 1, 2, 3, 4, a bajillion times, and it hasn't broken it yet. And if we look at the volume, for example, the volume looks less and less inclined to break it. I mean, it's trying. Like, there's a lot of good volume here, but people are buying it up. You know, if we talk about effort versus result, for example, and we see a lot of volume but very little price movement, that means that you know, that means that the people are trying to sell, but the demand is equal to the supply. So this could be you know, an accumulation zone for people who are looking to go long on OMG. I would not recommend going long on anything if Bitcoin's in a correction. My personal opinion. Do what you want, but that's my personal opinion. By shorting, you mean trading to Tether, or actually shorting on margin with Polo? I mean, I short on margin, not on Polo though. What do you think about OMG not having many supports at this level? I think that was an old question. I already talked about that. Off topic, how do you do this screenshot thing? Which shortcut? I'm not sure what you're asking. All right, so a lot of questions from Twitch. Is there a way to get cheap alts without buying expensive Bitcoin? Can I bypass Bitcoin to buy alts? Like, would it make any difference to go, for example, Ether to Bitcoin to altcoin? So you can go Sorry, I'm like reading through all these things. Yeah, I think Special Ed and answered all those questions. You don't have to. It depends on what altcoin you're trying to trade, but most altcoins you can buy that are worth a shit. You can buy with USD, you know. So is fiat a good option right now until we find out if Bitcoin corrects? Thanks. Stop OMG at 6.5. Yeah, 6.5 would be good. 6.5 would be a good stop. Maybe even a little lower depending on what your risk tolerance is. But a good stop would be near the next line of support. So 6.5 is good for this support level. Yeah, I think 6.5 would be a good stop. If I were going to go long on OMG, I think 6.5 would be a good stop. This would below 5.5 would be like your oh shit, like time to bail kind of thing, because like this is your last line of support right here before it just goes and just shits all over itself. You know, if you're looking at lines of support, it's going to be like this. It's going to be, you know, you got line of support at, line of support at, what is this? 3.7. Line of support at 5.5, and then, you know, at 7. So yeah, good support down there. But it could be a really good buy. It's just, you know, you're rolling the dice. You never know with these altcoins. Oh, you're asking about my drawing tool? So I'm using a Wacom tablet. I'm not doing this with my computer. Or I am doing it with my computer, but it's a Wacom tablet. And I have software to support it. That's how I'm drawing on the screen. Off topic, suggestion for Triple T, Technical Tip Tuesdays. Do you plan on going over risk management strategies on your trades and how to properly set stop losses? When to use trailing stops, etc. Yeah, I might go into that at some point. Right now, I want to just have a nice foundation for like basics before I go into risk management. But you know, I plan on like, I'm trying to start at like a really low level and then work my way up to more advanced stuff like risk management. And you know, before you even start thinking about risk management, like, I think it's important to even know what you're looking at before you start trading, you know. I can talk about risk management. That might have to be like a series though, because risk management is like a very broad topic, and depending on what your financial goals are and your trading strategy, it varies. But that might be like a good series of like, instead of triple T, we could do like risk management basics, maybe like basics, like a series of them. I don't know, little shorts, little 5-minute shorts or something. That's a good idea. I could get down with that. Thanks for the great. This is from Twitch. Thanks for a great personal take on the market again. Schmidtcoin keeps me sober. Thanks, bud. Appreciate you. Your Triple T, just a tip, is by far one of the best to easily grasp. Thanks, man. I appreciate that as well. Risk management series. That's great. I was thinking about doing something super cute and having a series instead of baby pips, it would be called baby carrots. I don't know. It's on the back burner for right now. Like little short videos called baby carrots. But we'll see. Do you guys have anything else you guys want to go over before we call it? I mean, we've been streaming for like an hour and 15. I'll leave the floor open to you guys. What do you guys want to talk about? So someone from Twitch is asking, where can I find these videos? Oh, I should probably update my Twitch profile and put that link in there, huh? So I'll send you a link to my channel. So there's your link to the YouTubes. Position sizing and risk management goes hand in hand. Oh yeah, 100%. Position sizing. I think one of the biggest things that people do wrong when trading, and it was one thing that caused me the most heartache when I first started trading, was learning how to scale your positions properly and knowing, and that's something that like I'm still adjusting to this day because of how volatile the markets are. You know, you got to be prepared for it. But in terms of position sizing, like that's key. A lot of people go 2 balls deep with the market, and then all of a sudden the market flips, and all of a sudden they're underwater, and then they blow up their account. Like I've seen it time and time again. You know, that's something that definitely needs to be addressed. So position sizing is great idea. Oh yeah, so great point. Someone brought up in my Discord. If you're interested in like viewing my video series and you're on Twitch, I have a link to my YouTube channel down there, and you know, you can find it that way. Also, yeah, let me just walk you through. So for those of you guys who are just watching for the first time, let me walk you through my video series. And I actually have a fancy new website that is like in the process of being developed. But if you can guess the website, you win a prize. It's bitcoinschmidtcoin.com. And I'll walk you through it real quick. So if you go to bitcoinschmidtcoin.com, you can find all my content there. You know, I have my market recaps here. You know, the ones that I've streamed. You can find my Technical Tip Tuesday. All those guys are in there. A little out of order. I need to fix that, but that's okay. And also, you know, if you want to join, this is the biggest thing that I've been trying to get out. Is I have a Discord community. It's like it's a trading community. It's, you know, open 24/7. But if you want to join it, you can. There's a link to my Patreon, and it's all of it's funneled through the Bitcoin Schmidtcoin website. And yeah, I'll walk you through what the Discord looks like if you're interested in joining it. So it's basically it's a community of traders. You know, you can see right now there's 102 active traders in here, and it's, you know, it's obviously open 24/7, but it's a chat and voice community that you know, I'll walk you through the channels, and if you're interested, you know, you're more than welcome. You know, there's no skill set required, but you know, if you find my streams to be useful, then I highly encourage you to you know, to join the Discord and up your trading game. So, you know, what we see here, we've got the news, where everyone in the Discord, if they find something new, this is like one of the best go-to sources I've found personally. Like, I use this personally for my news go-to source. You know, sometimes parsing through Twitter or the headlines is hard, but if we have right now 111 people posting news events, it becomes very easy to get to relevant topics, and then, you know, we can discuss it down here. And you know, in terms of like the community involvement, we've got a lot of different people with different skill sets. You know, a lot of high-level programmers, a lot of big money investors, a lot of seasoned forex traders, a lot of, you know, various commodities and things like that. So, you know, it's a wide breadth of knowledge, and everyone comes together to you know, to discuss the market. So, you know, here's another example right here, right? So here's the Bitcoin analysis. You know, sometimes people will post charts, and we'll talk about the market, and it's just it's a great place to once the market starts moving, and, you know, maybe you're out, you open up your phone and you say, oh shit, what's the market doing? You go ahead and open up the Discord, and you can see, you know, obviously in real time, the discussion, and you know, it just keeps you up to date with what the market's doing, and you can see everyone's opinions. You know, like, that's the best, in my opinion, that's the best aspect of the Discord, is that you get to, you know, bounce ideas off of fellow traders, so that you're not just thinking in an echo chamber. I know sometimes, like when you're looking on Reddit, it's kind of, you see like overly bullish or overly bearish commentary, but you know, if you're in a community with people who are throwing real money at the market, I think their responses are more measured, and I think you're more likely to get an objective opinion from people who are, you know, actually trading big sums of money in the market. So part of the addition of the Discord is that there are going to be some changes being made. You know, we're going to have more services available, like more tutorials, and I can't really announce a whole lot of that right now, but I'll walk you through what we do have. So we've got the Bitcoin analysis, we've got a forking discussion. A lot of the high-level programmers are discussing their take on the fork and the implications. You know, we've got the Ether, of course, altcoins, various altcoins. We've got a coin of the day if something's trending. You know, something's like really taking off, we'll throw the coin of the day in there. Trade journal for, you know, for everyone who's interested. And one of the newest additions is we've got a bot that that feeds the whale calls, liquidations, and position changes, which is very handy if you're trading Bitcoin and want to know what the market leader is doing. But anyway, yeah, you know, there's a lot of great stuff in here. A lot of diverse topics, and you know, if you're interested in doing that, you know, there's a link on my website. It's just bitcoinschmidtcoin.com, and there's a link available there. You know, if you want to sign up, boom, you go to Bitcoin, Schmitcoin. Cool. So yeah, I guess I'll just go ahead and wrap this up. And yeah, thanks for hanging out. You know, and even if you don't want to join the Discord, I appreciate any support. You know, via likes or shares on Facebook. You know, telling your friends about it. You know, that all helps a lot as well. But thanks for hanging out. I know it's kind of impromptu, and yeah, you guys have a great rest of your week. Bye.